Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited about today's video because this is a super fun and super duper easy, very budget friendly DIY sewing project. And it is perfect for those of you who are brand new to sewing or growing your skills and want something easy but something that is fun and trendy to make. Well, happy February, everyone. I don't know about you, but I have always loved the month of February, specifically because February has Valentine's Day. And I've just always loved Valentine's Day, not for the consumeristic nature of Valentine's Day, but I think honestly for the girliness of it, the red and the pink and the lace and the frills and the hearts, and all of just the fun, feminine, girly elements of Valentine's Day. Even before I started dating my husband and before I was married, I always looked forward to Valentine's Day every year and always loved celebrating it. Not for like it being a downer day because I was single. I actually loved celebrating Valentine's Day even when I was single. I think I just took it as an excuse to wear something fun and festive and treat myself to something, whether that was chocolate or a new book or going shopping for the day or watching a super fun chick flick movie with my friends or hosting a Valentine's Day party, whatever the case was. And even to this day, I still love celebrating it, especially as a sewist, because to me, it's an excuse to sew and create some new fun item of clothing, and that's what we're doing in today's video. So with all that being said, today I am going to be creating some really fun shirts inspired by projects that I have recently been seeing and penning on Pinterest. I feel like over the past, I don't know if I would say a year, but maybe the past like 6 to 8 months, bows and a very bow girly aesthetic have really taken over, I feel like, the creative spheres of the online world. And I can 100% understand that because I love bows and I think they are so fun and so girly. I think this whole bow aesthetic really came around whenever Coquette fashion was really a huge aesthetic. Last year in 2024, I feel like Coquette fashion was a thing, and it's definitely a trend that I don't think will be the top trend forever, but I think it is an aesthetic that many people are drawn to because they love the feminine and the girly elements of Coquette fashion. And one aspect of Coquette fashion is bows. There's so many different ways that you can integrate bows into your clothing and your outfits, whether it's putting them in your hair, having accessories that are accented with bows, or actually having bows integrated into your clothes. And that is where this fun DIY project comes into play, because it is a fun way to update and elevate a shirt with a fun bow accent. And something that I have noticed in regards to bows is a lot of people creating really cute shirts by just sewing bows onto the shirts from ribbon. And every time I see them, I think that it is such a fun, easy project. It is a perfect project to utilize a thrifted item of clothing and turn it into something new and fun. So it is very budget friendly, and it's also just a really fun project for this time of year if you're looking for something fun to wear and style for a Valentine's Day outfit. Typically in February, I would create some type of sewing video, creating a brand new outfit for Valentine's Day. Last year, I made a really cute pair of red and white checkered bow pants. So if you want to see those or make a pair for yourself, I will link that video down below. Those were super duper fun. But this year, I am not sewing a full-blown outfit. I am working on a really cute top, but I'm not going to film a video for that. But I did want to create and film this fun DIY sewing project for all of you, especially because I know there are a lot of you who are new to sewing and wanting to use your sewing skills in fun, trendy ways, but maybe are not fully sewing items of clothing from scratch yet. So this is a perfect project for beginner sewists and really any level of sewing. So I'm going to be walking you through 2 different bow accented shirts that I want to make for February. I have some really fun like outfit ideas for them, and I'm just really excited to have some bow accented items of clothing in my closet. So without further ado, let's dive into these fun bow shirts. Alright, so here's everything that you are going to need for these bow shirts. You're going to need a shirt of your choosing. I have these two shirts right here. This striped shirt that I thrifted that I'm going to sew a white bow onto. And then this white t-shirt that I got from Walmart, actually in the boys section, and I just got a large because it was the shape that I was wanting, and it was only $3.98. So this white shirt I'm going to be putting some type of print ribbon onto. You're going to need a ribbon of your choosing. That could be a solid color or a print. For example, on my white t-shirt, I'm going to use one of these red and white gingham ribbons. I haven't decided what size of bow I want, so I got both of these to play with, and I thought those would look really cute with the white. And then on my pink and white stripes, my idea was to do just a white bow, but I also thought about playing around with a red bow on the pink, so we'll see which one I end up going with. But I thought the contrasting of a solid ribbon with a printed shirt and a printed ribbon with a solid shirt would be super fun. Outside of your ribbon and your t-shirts, you are going to need pins to pin your bow into place. You're going to need scissors and then obviously a sewing machine. Although if you don't have a sewing machine, you very easily could hand stitch these as well. So that is an option. Okay, so my first shirt is this pink and white Orvis 100% cotton shirt that I thrifted. I thrifted this for $5, which actually is a little pricey for a thrifted shirt in my opinion, but I love that it was 100% cotton, and this was actually a really good quality shirt, and I thought these stripes were really cute. I also liked that this one was long sleeve, so I could wear it in the colder months because in Wisconsin, February is still pretty cold, and I always love a good classic stripe, so I thought this would look really cute with like a white skirt or a pair of baggy jeans. So my idea for this shirt is to create the bow out of white and then put the whole bow right here. Now for my white shirt, my idea is to do a red and white gingham bow. I kept seeing all these really cute gingham bow accented white t-shirts on Pinterest, and I thought they were so cute. Plus I absolutely love a red and white checkered. So I was originally going to get a white t-shirt in the women's department at Walmart when I stopped by one day. I would have thrifted a white t-shirt, but I didn't really find any at the thrift stores that I had gone to when I was sourcing items for this DIY project. So I just got this at Walmart, and like I said, I actually got it from the boys section. I just got a large, and I thought that the length and the shape of this would actually fit the idea I had for my bow shirt compared to the typical fitted women's t-shirt. So this actually worked really well, and it's a good hack for getting like a cheaper t-shirt for a project if you shop the kids section, and a large would actually fit your typical size. So for this t-shirt, like I said, I'm going to be making the bow out of one of these checkered ribbons and then creating it and pinning it on the front. My first step is going to be folding my t-shirt in half to establish where the center front of the shirt is. This is going to allow me to place my bow exactly in the center. After it's folded in half, I am using an erasable marker. This actually disappears with heat from an iron. It's a friction pin, and this is going to allow me to have an actual line that I can visualize when placing my bow. These pins are literally magic. I highly suggest you add them to your sewing room. Next, you want to make sure and trim the ends of your ribbon so that it doesn't have frayed edges. And then first off, I kind of just played around with tying a bow to see what size of bow I wanted, how long I wanted the tails to be. And after I established the size of my bow and the length of my tails, I then cut my ribbon to that specification. I don't remember the actual length of my ribbon, so this is totally up to your preferences. I feel like it was close to 3 feet of ribbon, but now that I have the length of ribbon I want, I'm going to re-tie my bow and start to figure out how I actually want to lay it on my shirt. The main thing is folding in the edges of the kind of bow ears to make them flat. So you essentially kind of create these little triangles on the end, and that's going to allow the bow to really lay flat in the center of your shirt. Once I decided on the placement of my bow along that center line that I drew, I'm just going to figure out how I actually want to lay those bow ears, and once they're really nice and flat and those edges are folded in, I'm going to start adding pins so that the bow doesn't shift and goes from essentially like a two-dimensional bow to a one-dimensional bow on the shirt. I will say the more pins you add to this, the better. This is really going to allow you to sew the bow really accurately when you take it over to your sewing machine. And also a pro tip, make sure that you mount the ends of your ribbon so that it doesn't fray, especially down the road once you wash your shirt. The next important step in this process is the zigzag tail. So again, you are going to fold your ribbon kind of in a zigzag fashion to establish the angle and the laying kind of look of your bow tails, and then you're going to mirror that on the other side. As you can see here, I folded my ribbon one direction, and then for the second fold, I'm going to fold it in the opposite direction. And here's what my first shirt looks like folded and pinned. Now on to my second shirt. For my second shirt, I'm going to repeat all the same steps as the first one. I'm going to draw a line down the center front of the shirt, then I'm going to figure out the size of my bow and how long I want the tails to be. For this shirt, I'm using a thinner ribbon, and it's also going to be a solid color. This satin ribbon is also a little bit tougher to work with because it is a little bit more slippery, so just be cognizant of that. And then same thing, I'm going to fold in those edges of the bow ears so that they are flat, kind of creating a triangle. I'm going to pin the center of the bow along that center line and then start to pin around my bow to really hold it into place and make it flat. And if you are using satin ribbon, definitely do not skip this step of melting the ends because satin ribbon is notorious for fraying on the edges. Then I'm going to repeat that same zigzag folding step to figure out the kind of laying look of the bow tails. And here's what my second shirt looks like all pinned. Now I'm taking my shirts over to my sewing machine and starting to sew the ribbon onto the shirts. I'm sure you could kind of come up with your own sewing process, but I decided to focus on sewing one edge and then coming back to sew the other. So I'm first starting off with my bow tails. I'm sewing along the right edge, and then when I get to the end of that edge, I'm going to pivot so that I'm now on another edge of my ribbon on the other side, right above it, and then I'm going to put my presser foot back down and sew that edge. So essentially for the bow tails, I'm sewing from the bottom to a folded edge. I'm going to pivot, then I'm going to sew that next edge. I'm sewing that all the way to one of those folded kind of elbows, and then I'm going to pivot again. So I kind of go back and forth between which edges I'm sewing, but after I finish this seam, I'm going to go back and sew the opposite edges, if that makes sense. As you watch this, you will kind of get the gist of what I'm doing. Once I completed my first seam on this first bow tail, I'm going back in with a second seam to sew the edges that were not sewn the first time. Still using the same method, I'm going to sew this entire edge all the way to that fold of that first kind of elbow of the tail. Then as you can see, I'm going to pivot to sew down that folded edge, and then I'm actually going to backstitch at the end of this fold so that I can hop on over to the other side of this ribbon and sew down this edge right here that I missed the first time. So you're just going to keep sewing seams until essentially all of your edges and folds are sewn down onto the actual t-shirt. After the tails, it's time to sew the actual bow. I started off by sewing around the outer edge of the bow, so I'm sewing down the right side edge. I'm going to pivot at that first fold on the side of the bow sew down that fold, pivot again, sew down that straight edge, pivot, sew down the fold, and then finish off that top outside edge of the bow. Once I completed my stitch around the outside of my bow, I'm then going to go and sew around the inside to stitch down those inside edges of the bow, making sure to pivot at any corners so that no edges are left unsewn. You are definitely going to be doing a lot of pivoting for sewing down this bow, but the pivoting is going to allow you to really only have to do a handful of back stitches because you're really only going to be doing like 5 full seams. And once I completed the first half of my bow, I am going to then repeat all of those same steps, sewing down all of the edges for the second and additional side of my bow. After I finished my first shirt, it was on to the second, and I am going to be using all of the exact same steps, sewing down one edge of the bow tail first, pivoting along all the folds, and then coming back in to sew the opposite edge. I will say pay attention to the satin ribbon if you are using satin ribbon because it tends to snag, so you might have to switch out your needle for a satin needle. And again, once the tails of the bow are sewn down, I'm going to sew the actual bow ears, working around the edges of the bow and then sewing down the inside edges. After sewing all of the bows down, I took them over to my iron and used my iron to remove that center line that I had drawn onto my shirts. Again, I was using a marker that disappears with heat, so it's super helpful for this project. After removing the lines, I also pressed down my bows so that they would lay really flat and any puckering that was created during the sewing process would kind of be steamed out. And here's what the bows look like once they are sewn onto the shirts. And now it's time to see what these shirts look like once I try them on.
Well, that is a wrap on this sewing video. I hope that you enjoyed watching this process of this fun DIY project that was inspired by Pinterest. If you give this project a try for yourself and share it on social media, make sure to tag me so that I can like it and see your wonderful bow accented creations come to life. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these two shirts was your favorite. I honestly can't decide which one is my favorite. I think I'm going to have to style them with more pieces in my closet to really figure out which one I like the most, but there are so many fun outfits I already have brainstorming in my head. As always, thank you so much for watching my videos. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more sewing videos in the future. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing, everyone. Bye.